What's going on, everybody? Toby1 Shinobi here, and today we are demystifying Fortnite for new players of the game, or even novice players of the game. This is the video that I wish I would have watched when I first started playing Fortnite, because honestly, for the first few months, I didn't know most of the stuff, and even up to like 6 months, there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm going to tell you I just had no idea about. So hopefully this is going to help all types of players, whether you're brand new to the game or you're just a novice at the game. We're going to cover all the types of things like symbols, icons, all the stuff going on in the user interface. We're going to talk about your inventory system, the secret menus in that, the map system, the secret menus in that. We're going to talk about the best settings you can use, because your settings are probably really bad out of the box. They generally are. And then we're going to touch on the best loadouts, best weapons and equipment that you should be carrying. And then we're also going to give you some basic strategy and advice so that you can win more games in Fortnite. Just a note, because this is such a long video, I am going to put chapters throughout the video for YouTube so that you can skip around as you please if you feel like you know everything about a subject. But do keep in mind, I am going to be dropping lots of tips and tricks that are beyond the basics in each section, and there might be some stuff that you don't know about, and it might be worth watching the whole thing. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so we're playing zero build, just to be clear. This will probably work for builds. Zero build doesn't really matter. Pretty much everything in this video should ring true. And let's just go ahead and start talking about the UI, the user interface, demystifying some of that, because I know for a long time I had no idea what was going on. Top left is my own, if I'm playing in team modes, which you probably are when you start, you have yourself and then your teammates right below. So my teammate just went down across the map. This is actually just an AFK player. It's another account. I'm not worried about it, but yeah. He's dying. It shows his status right now. It shows your teammates' health in the top left as well as your own. So you can see my own health down here and their health up there. By the way, I'm using a Tobii Eye Tracker 5 so that you can see my visual gaze. So it'll help you kind of like see what I'm talking about as I talk about things here. So the red health bar on my teammate right now shows that he's bleeding out. He's about to actually go down. So now he's out of the game until I go and get his reboot card, which says 263 seconds remaining. Let's get some sweet revenge on players that eliminated him. All right, so if I go collect that card, I can go to a res bus and I can interact with it. Takes like about 10 seconds, and then he'll fly back into the game with nothing but a gray pistol. So right now we have a total of 2 eliminations as a team. That far right number is your team eliminations. Now if you're playing solos, you won't actually see the far right number. You'll just see the number to the left of it, which is your individual eliminations, which is also 2. But if my teammate got an elimination, then that would be 3, and the left number would be 2, because I have 2 and they have 1, and then we have a total of 3. So one thing I want to point out here is that in the end game, this right here is a very important piece of information. You can see there are 6 players left in this game, but if you go over here, you can see that there are 4 teams. In the parentheses is how many teams there are. 6 players, 4 teams. So what does that mean? That means that there are 2 duos for 4 people, and then there are 2 solos for a total of 6. So myself and another player are solos, and then there are 2 duos in the game. 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 equals 6. So that information is really nice to know. Also above that, you can see how many eliminations your team has, each teammate. So that's also nice to know. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the storm. So below my mini map here, there is a number that's counting down. Right now, the icon is white and black, or white and gray, or whatever. That is how long the storm is sitting in a paused position. When it's got that little timer symbol, that means the storm is paused. It's not moving. As you can see, we drop a pin on this. It's not moving. You can see it's kind of pulsating. That means it's not moving. When that icon, that little timer icon, turns to a pink cloud, that means that the storm is going to start moving again, and it will enter a new phase. Actually, when it closes, then it enters a new phase. So right now it is on the move. The storm is on the move. As you can see, that pink mark is getting passed up by the storm, and it's coming in. Now, just a quick note, just a little tip, is there's a fast side of the storm, and then there's a slow side of the storm. So if you ever want to be safe and you're in the end game and not be touched by the storm and have to outrun it too far, you want to be on the slow side of the storm, the side that has the smaller gap between the safe zone and the storm. Now it's got 45 seconds. You can see that little number counting down. 43 seconds until this storm closes, and then once it gets to that 0 seconds again and goes to a black and white symbol, it's going to show us where the next storm circle is. So it's going to give us a new safe zone of where we need to get to not be touched by the storm, and that's going to push everybody into that circle. And that's something you want to start thinking about early on if you want to have good success in Fortnite, is where people have to go and where they're coming from. So right now we know for sure that there is a medallion player here. These gold circles right here are medallions in the game, and you'll see this like gold and red symbol on the map sometimes. Demon's Dojo always has one. That's where a boss is. You have to eliminate the boss to get the medallion, and the medallion gives you perks in the game. This one gives you faster reload speed, and it also drops some mythics with it, which is really nice. But this team right here has the medallion. They're going to get pushed into edge right here. So just some strategy to think about is that you always want to be kind of on what we call the dead side of zone. This right here is the dead side of zone. Why is it dead? Because look at the POIs. These are called POIs, the things with names. There's not a lot going on up here, and there's a lot going on down here. Oh, here's a medallion right here. So a new medallion just spawned in. This medallion gives you invisibility and infinite sprint. It's actually busted. It's really, really good, but you have to take down the boss on this island, which is pretty hard to do. Okay, so dead side of zone means that there's not going to be a lot of players up here because there's not much going on. There's not a lot of big POIs to loot. There's not a lot of people that are going to be roaming around up here. So if you want to play a safe game and just win games like pretty consistently, you usually want to be on the dead side of zone when you are in the end game, especially because that means people aren't going to be pushing from the back and surprising you. You're going to keep all your enemies in front of you. So if this is an end game circle and say the circle was right here, I'd want to be like over here, so that I know nobody's behind me and I can keep everybody in front of me. Just a tip. Oh, look, the medallion went down. So we know that a team is just got eliminated and dropped a medallion over here, and there's probably a new team picking it up, or they're just going to leave it so that they're not marked on the map. Okay, so we've covered storm for the most part. Now, I will note that storm damage is always 1 damage per second until it gets to storm phase 6. You can see storm 4 of 12 right now. It'll say storm 6 of 12 at one point, and that is when it goes to 2 damage per second. So if you sit in the storm, it's going to damage your green health for 2 damage per second. At storm phase 7 of 12, I believe it does 5 damage per second. And at storm phase 8 of 12, I believe it does 8 damage per second, and then so on and so forth. And you really don't want to be in the storm if it's a 2 tick or higher. If it's a 5 tick, things get really messy and you will die a lot quicker than you think. Basically, you just always want to stay ahead of storm, and you always want to be looking at the map, and you really want to pay attention to when that pink icon is going. And when it's going, you want to see when it gets down to 0. When it starts getting close to 0, that's when you want to check map again. Once it hits 0, it's going to give you a new circle to look at, and that's really important because you got to move there and you want to find a good position to set up. All right, now let's talk about your inventory and kind of what you should carry. So just in general, if you already know what's going on with the inventory, this right here, I would say right here is about as good of an inventory as you could ask for most average players. Most average players are going to be pretty dang happy with this inventory. This is 2 utility items, 1 health item, and 2 weapons. So a 2-gun loadout is what I call this, or you could go for a 3-gun loadout. And the reason that you'd go for a 3-gun loadout is you want a little more flexibility in your weapons, or maybe you can't eliminate players as fast. Maybe you don't hit as many shots and you don't want to have to reload your weapons as much during combat. You might rock 3 weapons and it can help you. But for most players that are pretty darn good at the game, 2 guns is all you need: a shotgun and an assault rifle. Shotgun for close range, assault rifle for long range, and then you swap the 2 when you're in fights between the shotgun and the AR to do what is called a pump swap. So 2 guns is fine for most players. Now, utility items are extremely important, and when I was a novice player, I wasn't using them at all. Novice, I just didn't really know what was going on with them. I didn't really know how to use them, so most of the time I'd skip them. And you would see like 4 or 5 guns in my inventory sometimes, and it was a mess. So just off the bat, I highly recommend learning how to use utility items properly. Just play with them. There's no hurt in learning how to use them. Like, you throw them down, Interesting. Okay, so learn how to use those because they will save your life. Somebody's chasing you, you get in a bad situation, you want to learn how to use shockwaves or bunkers, and bunkers, porta bunkers right here, you throw one down, and now you have this cover, right? And there's all kinds of cool things you can do with these. You can like stack them, you can do all kinds of awesome stuff. There's a lot to bunkers, but we won't get into that. Also shockwaves, a lot of things you can do with shockwaves. One, you can just like get out of a bad situation. Also, you can do crazy things like shockwave through a wall and shoot somebody in the back. And it's pretty awesome. It just sends you through stuff, breaks you out of buildings. So if you're ever in trouble inside a building, you just shock out and you're safe. Most of the time, they're not gonna be able to find you when you do that. And you can just keep throwing shockwaves to get away. So that kind of stuff will save your life. And if you're not picking it up, you're doing yourself a disservice. So generally, I like to carry two forms of utility, one of those being mobility for like getting out of places, and one of those being defense or cover. So this would be a form of cover, and this right here would be mobility. These are called crash pads. These are for like getting around the map quickly or getting out of danger quickly, and shockwaves or swords, all that kind of stuff generally falls under the category of mobility. So right now we have the Typhoon Blade, which is mobility for movement. It's also a weapon, but I highly recommend just using it for movement, not getting attached to using the sword for doing damage because it actually makes you a worse player. It's a auto aim weapon and you'll get really used to just using the auto aim on it, and you'll kind of forget how to use weapons, and weapons are always far more effective because you put yourself in much less riskier situations. So we carry two forms of utility and two guns. That's generally my recommendation. And then heals. Heals are great for players that are new because they take more damage in their fights. They don't navigate fights as well and they often take a lot of damage, so you should probably be carrying heals. And then mobility to get out of places or to push people after you've hurt them. And then defense, if you're playing zero build, defense for, holding spots. So you get in a nice position and you want to hold down that spot and you want to have some nice cover, have all three sides of you covered, you got a porta fort. You can even cover your backside if you want with a double, or even throw another for a double height, whatever. In end games, porta forts are huge in zero build. You definitely want to carry them into the end game where the circle is small and there's not a lot of cover. All right, now let's talk about managing your inventory because a lot of people don't really understand this. So there are some secret stuff going on with your inventory. For one, you can split items. If you select an item, it gives you the option to split or drop the whole stack. If I want to drop the whole stack, I just hold down that button. And you can see once you select the item, it gives you options to do certain things. So if you have a stack of, say, health or a stack of shockwaves and you're like, your friend doesn't have any mobility, you just press the split button and it's going to drop half of your stack. And if you have an odd number, it'll drop the smaller amount. So, hey, take a shockwave, let's go push this guy, right? He grabs it and then we go. We're pushing him. Also, if you have ammo, hey, here's half my ammo. If your friend doesn't have any shotgun ammo or AR ammo, that's how you split really quickly. You just open your inventory and press that split button, boom. Now let's talk about this little inspect button. This inspect button allows you to actually take a look at your weapons, and it tells you information about your items, which can be helpful. How much damage they do, their fire rate. It gives you an idea of the guns, like how they work. It'll tell you different things about them, like this is high damage, slow fire rate, short range, limited mag. Okay, so this is like a very close range weapon. Good to know. Let's talk about settings, because settings and sensitivity is so important in every single game and Fortnite. I'll start off by saying that about 4 in 5 people that I've trained in one-on-one training sessions, that have paid me for one-on-one training sessions, have had their sensitivity set way too high. And I've trained probably about 30 people. So the vast majority of people that I've trained have their sensitivity way too high, and it's like laughable. The problem is Fortnite puts the default sensitivity on mouse and keyboard, I think at like 30%, and maybe even I think 30 and 20. So this number is 30 and the other number is 20, and let's see what that feels like. Yeah, I can't imagine like trying to, wow. This is insane. So if somebody jumped me and I tried to turn around, I just accidentally turned around twice. I don't even know what I just did. That's crazy. This is way too sensitive. You have no control unless you have absurdly good aim, absurdly good mouse control, and you've spent thousands and thousands of hours in Kovacs or some sort of aim training software. You should never have your speed this high. This is absolutely insane. And I've met many people who have it in like the 60s, 70s, 80s. Some people, I've met one guy who had 100% on each. He's like, you know, the faster the better, right? Like, yeah, you'd be able to, bro, bro, stop. Like, I couldn't even walk around like this. This is absolutely insane. But he was playing like that, and they can't hit a single shot. They just can't. Like, I'm training with these people, and I'm like, your aim needs work. Let's talk about your aim. Let's like work on that. And then I always ask like what their settings are, and lo and behold, 75% of the time, it's just way too sensitive. So put your sensitivity way lower than you think. 5% is great. I've done all kinds of aim research. I've done all kinds of aim training. 90% of pro players in every single game play within a certain CM360, and CM360 is just a universal measurement for how much you move your mouse on a mouse pad and how fast it spins you around in a circle, how many centimeters you have to move in order to spin around and do a full circle in game. And 90% of pros fall within the same range. And 5% on 800 DPI is within that range. So I would go probably no higher than 10% on 800 DPI. That's like the highest you should even consider. And 10% is really fast on 800 DPI. On 1600 DPI, you just cut those numbers in half. So if you're playing 1600, this would be actually a 2.5 right here. Yeah. So we're going to go back to 5%. Lower sensitivity is always much better. You have to earn high sensitivity. You have to master your control of your mouse or your thumbsticks in order to justify putting it at a higher sense, because you're not going to benefit from the speed if you can't hit a shot. If somebody jumps you and you turn around and you're just whiffing shots because you're flying past them, there's no point in moving fast if you can't hit shots. All right, now let's talk about my targeting sensitivity and scope sensitivity. I have both of these at 100%. I used to play around 50% or 55, I think. Recently, I made the change to 100% since I have such low sensitivity already. Playing at 100%, I just feel like playing at 100% is like very natural and just feels normal. Like I can move my mouse just as fast when I'm aiming down sights as I'm not. And because I have low sensitivity already, it's really easy to control already when I'm aiming down sights. Like I can trace this around this tree, no problem, with this high sensitivity aiming down sights. I don't really have any issues with hitting people out of the air or people moving fast. So I personally like 100, but you might want to play with it so that when you aim down sights, it's a little slower and you can be a little bit more accurate. Now we're going to head over to controller settings, and there is a very important setting for mouse and keyboard players as well in here. Mouse and keyboard players, all players, need to set their slide hold time to the lowest amount they can, 0.010 seconds. This allows you to hit slide immediately without any delay. You don't have to hold down on your slide button, which is very helpful for good movement. It really doesn't hurt you at all. It is going to help you a lot in the long run. Now, if you use quick weapon swap, this is something you can do if you play controller. There's basically a way to allow a single button on the controller to act as a modifier that allows you to tap one button and then press another, and it will instantly go to that slot. I typically don't use it on controller, but you can, and it's kind of similar to mouse and keyboard. It's just a little bit slower to swap weapons. Let's just talk about sensitivity here. So horizontal speed, I would recommend, this is kind of like the ballpark range that you need to be in for a controller. Controller, I would say minimum probably start around 25%. Maximum, I would say probably go 45%. This is about the highest you should go if you're a new player. It's about 45%. And honestly, I would start at 30% first. Turning horizontal boost, 5%, 5%. These are just my settings. I'm not a controller player by default, so you might want to watch other YouTubers' videos on controller settings, but I did get these from like a very good controller player, so these are probably very solid. ADS looks horizontal speed, 15. ADS look vertical speed, 15. Turning boost, 0. Vertical boost, 0. Turning boost ramp, 0. Scope speed multiplier 100% or 1% one time. So this is going to be the same pretty much. Like if you aim down sights, I think it'll be the exact same as just moving around, not aiming down sights. And then a very important one is the look input curve. A lot of people have no idea what this is. There's a difference between linear and exponential. It's the way that your toggle on your controller actually reacts when you put an input on this. On exponential, the way it works is that if you put a little bit of input on your controller, it's less sensitive, and then it kind of ramps up the more you push on it. So it like takes a little bit of time to get to full speed. On linear, there is no ramp up time. Every single input that you put in on your toggle is going to be treated the exact same, distance, the exact same rate. So if I push hard over to the right, it's going to spin me just as fast as if I push a little bit to the right, just like that. And that's a big thing, because if you play on exponential, it gives you a little more sensitivity at longer ranges. It can kind of help because it allows you to make these like micro movements, because your first little small inputs are smaller and more controlled. But in the long run, a lot of people prefer going down to linear and just mastering the control, because the control is always uniform. The movements are always uniform, and it allows you to kind of build that muscle memory. And short range fighting, you can also like get onto targets very quick with like a flick. There's no like speed up time. Really, you could go either way. I was pretty much an exponential player my whole life in Halo. Recently, when I played controller a little bit, I switched over to linear. It is definitely a little bit harder to hit shots at longer ranges, but you're probably going to be better at close range fighting for a bit. But ultimately, if you want to stick on one and you want to get really good, you probably want to go linear. And if you want to get really good at aiming on controller, I'd also recommend going into training maps like my Shinobi Zero Build Mastery course and turning your aim assist completely off. So what aim assist is it basically has like sort of a magnetizing effect. When you swing your crosshair over somebody, it'll slow down as you cross over them, and that is aim assist. If you turn that to 0, you're basically going to be working on your raw aim. You're going to be getting better aim overall because you're not going to have any assist from the software, which is pretty dang hard. But at the same time, if you get really, really good without aim assist, and then you go and turn aim assist on, you're going to be an absolute monster. The next thing is controller dead zone. This is going to be specific to your controller, and I would recommend setting this as low as possible. Again, it's just dependent on how old your controller is, what kind of controller you got. Over time, you're probably going to have to increase the dead zone settings. If your dead zone is up in the 20s, you're probably looking at replacing your controller. What this does is it keeps your stick from drifting. Basically, when you jam your sticks around over time, the things in this called potentiometers kind of get damaged, and they start having these issues where they drift, where like there's inaccurate readings and it's moving your character without you touching the controller. And that is why there's dead zones, to account for that. But if you don't have that issue at all, set it as low as possible. And then some people might be wondering, hey, what's the base hardware that I need, or like base frame rate and that sort of thing? So just from the get-go, I will say that 120 frames per second is where you get competitive. That's like what you should be playing at bare minimum. 120 frames per second is going to basically not put you at much of a disadvantage. After that, big time diminishing returns on how high you go with your frame rate. Most people would not be able to tell the difference between 240 frames per second and say 120 frames per second. The average gamer really couldn't tell if they were playing on two systems. They wouldn't really be able to tell. Most people think it's a huge advantage. It's really not. But what is a big advantage is going from 60 to 120. That's a pretty big jump right there. 30 is absolutely painful to play as. We used to play 30 FPS all the time in all of our games when I was growing up. And we did it, it was fine. 60 was like, dang, this feels buttery smooth. This is really nice. 120 was like, okay, this is, yeah. And then once you start going up from there, there is a difference, but most people wouldn't be able to tell. It just feels a little bit smoother, but yeah. Minimum 120. That means you're probably going to want a monitor. You want to play it on a small monitor. 25 inches to 30 inches is about the biggest that you should go if you want to actually be really competitive, because that keeps everything within view. And then you want to be, like 2 feet away from it. You don't want to play on one of those big screen TVs on your couch if you want to play competitively and like be, a top tier player, because TVs have a huge amount of input lag, which is how long it takes after pressing the button to doing the thing on screen. There's a lot of stuff that go into these big TVs that are not about performance. It's about visuals, right? They put all their money into the visuals of the TV. They don't put a lot of technology or money into making the TV respond really fast to pressing buttons. So that is called input lag or input latency, and it's built into every device, but larger TVs have massive input lag, like no joke, massive input lag that people just don't realize. I have played a game called Elden Ring, if you've ever heard of it, on a 65-inch TV. I played through the entire game and I was like, dang, dude, this game just feels like so slow to respond. Then I went downstairs after I beat the game and I played Elden Ring on my computer, and I was like, oh my God. same frames per second. I was getting 60 frames per second upstairs, 60 frames here. But the input lag was a major factor in how fast it took for me to roll my character after pressing the button. I just thought there was like a major delay built into the game, but no, it was just the giant TV, which had a gaming mode. Gaming modes don't make a difference really at all. So just FYI. And then on top of that, you probably want a decent pair of headphones. $60 plus is kind of the minimum for decent quality in headphones. And then if you want to invest some money into peripherals like your controller or your mouse and keyboard and all that, you can definitely spend money there. It's easy to spend a lot of money. $100 plus generally for a pro controller that has back paddles. This is the Razer Wolverine, which is actually a very good deal for what you get. An amazing controller. I would highly recommend checking it out. I'll put a link down below. But yeah, this has back paddles, back buttons, 4 of them, that allow you to keep your fingers on the stick the entire time without taking your fingers off and pressing the face buttons right here. So you just keep your fingers on and you can jump, run, do all that stuff without having to adjust your aim or keep putting your fingers back on the sticks to adjust your aim. All right, now let's talk about the stuff going on in the bottom left corner of your screen. So right here we got our shields and our health. So shields is the blue bar, green is health. Green is your health bar. And then we've got our stamina bar just above that. So when you sprint, you use stamina and it takes about 6 seconds to recharge. Now, if you hit sprint at any point while that is recharging, it will pause and take another 6 seconds to recharge. So that is super important to note. If you start doing this and you sprint again, now it's going to be 12 seconds total. I do it again, I start sprinting again, now it's 18 seconds that we're having to wait before we last really sprinted. So you got to be really, really good with your sprint management. Learn how to manage sprint well, because it's an incredibly important thing to learn. And the best way to save stamina is by sprint sliding. Just like this, sprint slide over and over again while you're moving anywhere. Is going to save a ton of stamina and allow you to go much further distance than if you're just sprinting the entire time. Like major difference. So get really, really used to sprint sliding all the time. Sprint slide, sprint slide, sprint slide. You can see it's not using very much stamina, and you move just as fast when you're sliding as you do when you're sprinting, as long as you have enough momentum out of it. So if I'm full sprinting like this, you can see like I run out of stamina so fast. So yeah, when it comes to stamina, just sprint slide. Sprint slide is going to save you a ton of stamina. And also avoid sprint jumping unless you have to. Sprint jumping, watch how much stamina this burns when I sprint jump. You get about 4 total sprint jumps in a full bar and you're out of sprint completely. So sprint jumping is usually the reason why you're running out of stamina. If you feel like you're running out of stamina in fights all the time, it's because you're doing this. Burn stamina like crazy, so just avoid sprint jumping if you can. Obviously there are times where you need to sprint jump to say like get on top of a roof, which that's also another thing. If you are just jumping like this, you don't actually jump as high. You can see where my head lands right here, right there to that line. But if you sprint jump, your head actually goes much higher. You can see, so it goes like, I think it's like 10 to 20% higher. And sometimes that's the thing that you really need to just get to a certain height of something. So if you're just trying to climb up something by holding jump like this is a perfect example, right? I can't jump up this, but if I do a sprint jump, I can clamber it. So good to know. Now let's talk about our health. So we got blue health, green health, which is shields, and health. Now shields are recharged by shield items. So this is a shield potion, a small shield potion. Small shield potions will only go up to 50 HP. Past that, you cannot heal. You max out at 50 HP. So I have 70 right now, which means I cannot use this small shield potion. But if I find a big shield potion, I could use that to heal up to 100. Or I could use something like chug splashes right here to heal both my green health and my blue health. Same with slurp barrels or chug barrels, whatever you want to call them. These right here will also heal both green and blue health. And it always prioritizes green before blue. Same with these items right here. This will heal both my blue and my green. So there are many items in the game that will actually heal both. And these are the best items to carry usually is these. Now med kits and bandages only heal green health. And bandages max out at 75 green health. and health packs will take you all the way up to 100, or a med kit. Really good to carry in the storm. If you're in the storm, always be looking for bandages or med kits or splashes like this that will heal your green health, because your green health is what gets hurt from the storm. Like this, you can see I'm taking 1 damage per second right here in the storm. Also, it is hurt from fall damage. Oh, well, we didn't take fall damage, but trust me, your green health gets damaged from fall damage, and then you need to replenish with either med kits or some sort of splash juice or something like that. Chug splash. Now in zero build, there's something called an overshield, and that is the thing, that shield icon to the right of my health, that has a recharging 50 HP. So that's basically like this free little 50 HP shield that you get, that if you get tagged by another player for 30 damage, it actually doesn't leak into your shields at all. It just absorbs it, and then you can hide and wait 6.5 seconds, and it will start to replenish as well. So basically you don't have to reheal. Now if you're playing builds, then you will get damaged and you always have to heal. If you get shot for even a single bullet, you have to go reheal up to maximum health. There's no getting around it, you have to reheal. So zero builds has that nice, really nice overshield that honestly, I don't know, maybe builds should consider doing that, because it's just kind of annoying to have to heal like 10 HP to go find a healing item to feel back to full health, you know. But it is what it is. I only play zero build, so I don't really mind. But yeah, I love the overshield, and it's really good to know that like you can peek out, you know, and take a fight. You know, you take a little bit of damage, you get to cover really quick. No damage done, really. You just wait for a second, wait 6 seconds, and you have back to full health. So really good to utilize that and realize that you can take a little bit more damage than you think, and you don't have to reheal all the time. So we'll get these guys over here to break our shields. This is a duo right here. We're gonna shock up or play high ground. So this is a little, always go for high ground. This guy's got a mobility item, which is good, but so do I. I have shockwaves. I'm gonna cut him off. Oops, I missed. That's okay. Missed again. And some players will just use sword. So this guy that's chasing me behind should really not be using a sword. He should be helping his teammate with guns, because he could have shot me in the back, but he's dedicated to using sword. And this is what happens if you stick to just using swords, is you actually become a worse player, because you don't know really how to play the game without sword spamming everybody. Like this. This is sword spam right here. People that just go like this and rah, rah, rah. And that is not recommended. It'll make you a worse player. That's why I just kind of want to mention that, because a lot of people get addicted to melee items. Melee items in the long run actually make you worse, because you don't improve your aim over time. So something I just want to mention, because I'm sure a lot of novice players, like this guy right here, is chasing me with a sword. What do you know? All I have to do is back up, run away, get him to run through an open field. Maybe he'll use his guns. Let's see how they're running through the open, not using cover, and because I used cover and they didn't, I just win this. So yeah, always practice using guns over melee items, because melee items in the long run kind of hurt your gameplay and make you a worse player. So here I am, hidden my shield pot and not my minis, because I was above 50 shields, and we cannot get to 100 with our minis, so we hit the 50. And that's also why it's really good to carry 2 mobility items or 2 utility items. You could see that I needed to get out and get some space to use some cover, and what I did is I set up a kill lane right here. This is what I call a kill lane. This is a big open space that they have to run through, and I'm behind cover, and I can utilize this cover and peek out, boom, 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 and make things really easy for myself to win that fight. Because they're just going to run through the open. They're not really thinking about it, but I'm just set up ready for them to be without cover while I'm in cover. It makes it very hard for them to do anything about that. So if they're going to push me, they'd have to push with like a mobility item like this, the mask, and get behind me, or a shockwave or something that makes it harder instead of running through the open with a sword. All right, so there's 13 players left in this lobby. Now let's just go ahead and wrap it up with some tips and tricks, how to win games consistently. We'll try to win this one. It's a solo versus duos at this point. Pause. I'm going to give you 4 ways to guarantee your improvement at Fortnite Zero Build. Now, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to write them down as bullet points. Go ahead and pause the video if you haven't seen these resources before. I only aim to exceed your expectations, and I won't let you down. Thanks for checking that out. Let's get back to the video. All right, now let's talk about map icons. You see this right here? This is a vending machine. So vending machines can be very helpful. This is a gun machine, so it's not health. Sometimes it's health. And you can go to these and you can use your gold bars to buy items. You can also buy items from vendors and that sort of thing. And as you can see, we get below 64 HP. We can pop one of these bandages. We're gonna get up to 75. Now we're looking at Storm right here. It's Storm 4 of 12. So I know that since it's gonna go to Storm 5, it's still a 1 tick. I can actually hang out in Storm for quite a bit. And that's still gonna be doing 1 damage. Once it gets to Storm 6 of 12, that's when we really have to get worried or, you know, concerned about the Storm. Also, fire pits. Fire pits will give you green health as well, but this one's getting damaged by Storm. Oh, that must be a new mechanic. So here we go. We're gonna hit a med kit to get to 100. And now let's just talk about icons. So icons on the map are really, really helpful. Right now I'm not near anything, so there's not a lot of icons. This right here is a medallion, for instance. This is the boss that spawns towards the end of the game or the middle of the game. This right here is a tower, a forecast tower. If you get this key and you put it in the tower, you kill the guards and you put it in the tower, it allows you to see the next zone. So that's actually really, really powerful, really helpful. I would always go for these because it allows you to see that next zone and get to zone before anybody else and kind of set up. You can also see NPCs on the map. Also, you know, when you're, oh shoot. When you're near NPCs, they'll show up on your mini map, but when you drive too far away, they disappear. See how it disappeared right there? You can also go to your quest tab in your character tab inside your map, and you can see all of the characters around the map and what they sell. You can also hire them. Some of them do special things, like this is a scout specialist who will mark players when they're nearby every 60 seconds. This is a Rift to Go you can buy from this guy. Not hire him, but you can buy a Rift to Go, which puts you into the air, allows you to glide. So there's some really good stuff that that they sell. But yeah, we're just gonna play this game out. We're gonna talk about strategy and how to win games effectively. Right now, I'm moving to the backside of zone because this is a safe spot to be at. Nobody's gonna be on my back, and I'm putting that space between myself and other players. Notice the area that they have to run through to get to me. I'm gonna go ahead and break his cover. Okay, so this guy has a fire mask. That's why my screen is darkening, because that fire mask is locking onto me. If you ever see your screen darken a little bit, that means you're being locked on by either the fire mask or like a lock-on pistol or something like this. But yeah, right now, objectively, I'm in a very good spot. But now we're looking at zone, and we gotta look at where we need to go. So right here is definitely the best spot to be. That is high ground, super high ground. It's in the new circle, and you can see that now we're at Storm 6 of 12. It's a moving zone, so half the zone is actually going to get revealed or refreshed. Now I'm actually baiting this player right now to go res his friend. I kind of want him to. Oh, he's not. He's pushing me. So we're in a bad spot. Our car's about to blow up. We're going to jump out. We're going to go over here, and we're just going to play the edge of zone. We're going to keep moving across edge because I know nobody's over my left. This is like something that's very important, is everybody is going to be behind me or to my right, and if I stay along the edge on the left side, then I'm safe from the left, and I only have to worry about my right and my back. So this is a very good rotation. This is what they call rotating through zone, which just means basically moving across the map. Kind of a smart way, having some strategy to it. This is a rotation, and ultimately we want to be up here. That's like, we can just win the game pretty easy if we get up there first. So this is why it's so important to pay attention to your map and also have mobility items like this to get into places that are like, just objectively very good. So now I'm up here. If anyone's up here, yeah. So we won the game already. I can just tell you that much. Because we're up here, we pretty much win the game. These guys are already fighting, so this game's very easy for me as long as I don't let anyone on my mountain. This is a hired NPC on their team. It has a little icon over its head, so that means it's hired. And she dies when the other player dies as well. So now I'm in a 1v. Oh, this is what we talked about. So there's 3 squads remaining, but there's 4 players. So it's a full team, a team of 2, and then me and another solo. So me and another solo, and then a team of 2. So we should win this. We have the best position. Oh, but we have to move again. So if we move early and secure the next best position, it's going to be really easy for us. As we're moving out, we're looking for items to carry, and we're looking for defensive things to carry too. So this right here is a bush bomb. That's going to be really good for me to set up for some concealment. And we should probably take the shield, but it's more important to actually move to zone right now. But these guys are pretty novice and they're lagging. So they just lost the game and they don't realize it because they're not getting to zone faster than me. I'm going to set up in such a good spot that it's going to be nearly impossible for them to beat me as long as I hit my shots. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to drive a car. Cars are very useful for cover and traversing the map, mobility. Just really, really good cover. And at this point, I'm like 99% sure that I won this game, given the circumstances right now. I've got this cover to use. I've also got a bush for concealment. I can throw that on this bush and I can just like sit in this bush and look at this big open space these guys have got to go through. It's such a problem for them. As long as I hit my shots like this, the other guy's gonna start shooting me. As soon as he starts shooting me, I'm gonna get into the bush. Oh, he broke my bush with that, but that's okay. We got a car, right? Our car is gonna be, don't want that car to hit me, so I'm gonna actually get into it. See how they're getting pushed by storm now? They're stressing out and they're in a real bad situation. It's like, what do? Do they fight me or do they run from a storm? Like, they have to make the decision and it's too much for them to handle. And this is why you lose games if you're not paying attention to storm circles. So right now I could literally like, I'd have to fully like almost give up to not win this game, because look at the cover I have and look at the cover he has. If I break this rock right here, it's just real bad for him. I don't even have to let him see me. I can break this rock. He's probably feeling a lot of pressure right now. He's probably thinking my only hope is hitting a railgun shot right here, but I just duck down and I don't care. Also, this guy's crawling to him. Oh, but look, we got to move to zone. Good thing we've been thinking about that. And we have a car. We're going. He's moving to zone, but he's already so hurt that like this railgun, he's relying pretty heavy on that, trying to hit like just a one hit kill sort of thing. Got to watch the health in this car. Now we just play the next bush, right? Next piece of cover. Now he's got to move through another open space, and he's already on the struggle bus. Just avoid his shots. And again, this is just like a slow, painful death for him. There's really nothing he can do because he's got to move to me and he's got to move through open space. I'm looking at the zone right now, right? We're in zone and we take the next best piece of cover. And now he's got to come to us and he's hurt and has no cover. He's going to use a mask, teleport right out into the open. Look at this. What is he going to do? There's nothing he can do because I set up early. So that is such an important thing in Fortnite Zero build, because you have no builds. You can't just build anywhere and just set up. You have to go to a good spot first, set up, get a good piece of cover, or bring bunkers or bushes or bring a car, something like that. And if you're always ahead of everybody, then everybody else is getting pushed with the storm at their back and they're all clumped together because they're all trying to run out of that zone. They get in these fights and you're just way out there just beaming them. So that's pretty much the best thing I can teach you early on, is like get to zone early, set up, and just watch. Just hit people from afar and just, you know, enjoy yourself, because it makes the game really easy to win. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I promise you will not regret it. Check out my must-watch playlist on my YouTube channel. I promise you're going to love it. Check out any of those videos and they're guaranteed to be very helpful for you, especially as a novice. There are so many things about this game. It's very complex, but there's a lot of stuff going on. And if you learn these tips, tricks, and tactics early on, you're just going to be dominating your lobbies and you're definitely going to be the best player in your friend group. And if you really appreciate what I'm doing here and you buy skins from the item shop, you can put in my code Toby1Shinobi and you will help support me and my family with every single purchase with no cost to you. So very, very helpful for me if you put Toby1Shinobi in there. And if you do, please let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you. Thank you all so much for watching. Have yourself a great day. Shinobi out.